All right, all right. So let's just get into it and start from the very beginning. My first just question for you is, what in your upbringing led you to music? What created this sort of love for music in your life? What led you to become the award-winning musician that you are today?
Thank you, Christopher. It was music. So I'm the sixth of seven kids, and I grew up outside Kansas City in a suburb of Kansas City. My dad was the church choir director. My two oldest sisters were studying classical piano. So my household a week was like upstairs. I had my older sister playing Jesus Christ Superstar on her record, Barbara Streisand. I was in my room with my hairbrush, cocktail, or well, my dad worked from home. And so Bach was coming from his classic radio, but cocktail hour meant big band and Glenn Miller. And then my brother at the time was down in the basement listening to like AC/DC and Deep Purple. So I had this huge influence of music. And in some ways, I feel like it's actually my first language, even almost more than speaking English. Music was the place where I knew how to express myself much more authentically and fully than I did with words. And so my first step was I learned how to play piano, and then I joined the choir in like junior high and high school. And then I went to college to be a music teacher. I thought I was going to be the cool college or a high school music teacher. And that was it.
Wow.
What about you?
Well, for me, what really just led me into music was, I mean, it just started that way. I live in a community where there are so many different genres of music playing at one time. It's like you'll hear classical music from one side, and then some neo soul, and then R&B, and these different genres just coming at me at once. And I said, okay, I mean, how can I sort of play them all? And that's when I saw the violin. My mother just pulled up Facebook. I mean, I know, it's so Gen Z. Just like to go on social media and see just somebody playing violin. I said, hey, I'm gonna do that. I was around what, like 4 at the time. And I said, hey, I want to do that. So then for Christmas, my mom got me a violin, and then I started taking lessons. And a couple years later, I started in harmony, and I mean, here I am. It's been amazing.
Amazing. I love that. I love that story.
Yes, and I mean, keep it going. You just said that music is sort of like a universal language, and it's connected you. I know for me, it's connected me to people like all around the world. I've been able to speak to people through music, and so many different, genres and types of music have allowed me to speak to others, even though I didn't know their actual language. So, I mean, what I would ask you is how music has sort of shaped you as a person, like how it's grown, whether it's your morals, your values, like how it's grown you as a person.
Oh my, how hasn't it? I think, I have the added element of theater in what I do. So not just being an instrumentalist that maybe plays solo music or orchestral, but I also inhabit stories and characters through the opera. And I really feel I've had some great teachers. I've been very fortunate in my life, but I think music and theater really has been my greatest teacher. It's taught me, well, I think in order to succeed as a musician, which I'm not talking about success, I'm not talking about, fame or awards, but in order to get to a point where you can make your instrument express what you have inside. It takes a certain amount of proficiency and a lot of dedication, and all of that. But I think that's successful, that what you want to convey outside of yourself through your instrument becomes possible. And in order for that to happen, I've had to really, most of the work had to be internally on myself. So, what is my inner voice doing all the time to either help me or sabotage me? What is other people's opinions? How is that forming how I stand up on stage and go? Am I trying to prove something? Am I hoping for approval? Am I trying to get them to like me? Or am I suspending all of that and just taking a leap of faith and doing the best that I can and letting it be what it is in the moment? And so, in order to get to a point of being able to infuse the music with everything I feel inside, and especially everything that Mozart or Bach or Strauss put into it, I've had to learn how to get out of the way. And so I think music has taught me that. It's taught me how to be a member of an ensemble, how to be part of a team, how to have the confidence to project over an orchestra into an audience. And now I'm at the stage where it's also not so much about how I sing, but what do I want to put out into the world with my voice? What how do I want people to shift or transform by a musical experience they have that in that evening is my responsibility? And so it's done a lot. I have to look at the world around me. I have to look at the world within me. And that's what music pulls out of you. And it's relentless, and it's a taskmaster, and it's not always gentle, and it's not always kind. And it's hard work to stay that mental course, but it's worth it because she just keeps demanding that of you. Yeah.
Wow. Wow. You really just said it all. That was absolutely heartwarming. I mean, spoken like a true musician to, I mean, you want people to see through you and hear the music and hear its meaning. And I mean, to be more like, to more specifically get into it, what did you really want to convey with your music? Like, what do you want people to feel? Or does it vary from selection to selection? Like, what do you want people to take out of your music?
Well, I mean, when I was your age and I wasn't really performing, I was in a choir. There was such uh, a powerful force about joining my little voice at that time to others and being able to create something bigger than I could do on my own. And that force and that power, um, at the beginning, was really about, I think, going out into the world and saying, I know it sounds super naive, but come on, you guys, if we can do this, we can do anything. Like anything is possible together. In a choir, you're standing next to people of all different backgrounds, all different um, ethnicities and frames of mind and politics and religions and backgrounds. And when that conductor drops the downbeat, it doesn't matter. All the voices, or in an orchestra, all the instruments come together to tell one story. And so I've always felt that power, that music is the guide about showing what it is, what community is, and what working together is. I mean, today more than ever, it's the guidepost to how powerful unity is. As I've gone more into solo world, and I did a project a couple years ago where I was really exploring the idea of peace. And in a world that is chaotic, is it possible for you to identify how you can find peace in this moment right now? Not for the world, but just for you in this moment. And now I'm starting to turn it into the environment, into nature. That's sort of my next big thing. And so, of course, it's coming into big light during this period of COVID. But nature has always been a huge inspiration for the great composers and performers, and it just feels like it's a good moment to start talking about that.
Yeah, you just really scratched the surface of my next question, which would be, how have you continued? Yes, how have you continued to hone your craft during this COVID-19, like the pandemic? How have you been able to sort of grow your music and just do what you do best?
It's a good question. I never got the handbook for COVID. I don't know if there was one. Like, where's the playlist? Where's the rule list? Like, how does this go, right? We're all just improvising, and across the globe, we're just trying to figure out what's happening. And in my case, I had been singing professionally when COVID started, like 21 years, pretty nonstop. I kept a pretty grueling schedule. And when it first hit, I sort of went, my impression was that Mother Nature was sort of going, hello, shut up. Earth, shut up, people, be quiet. Just stop for a second, is kind of what I felt. And so I thought, okay, let me get quiet for a little bit. And it took me probably about 2 months to sort of settle down. But I decided to use this period a little bit as rest, vocal rest, mental rest, physical rest, and just for the first time in my life, well, in my adult life, to be in one place and be able to put some roots down. And so I've gone a little bit quiet in kind of every way. I'm not quite as present on social media and things. I pick my projects very carefully. Like this one means a lot, so I'm here with you guys. Um, but now that things are going to start emerging, I've taken the time to go back, like, to the fundamentals and just study voice, literally vocalizing, not worrying about a new role, not worrying about a new aria, going back to like square one and say, okay, what is it like to sing again? And I think it's been a real gift because I've been able to study for study's sake, for the joy of it, and not because I have a performance in 2 weeks I've got to get in shape for. So it's been great.
Yes, that wow. I mean, COVID-19, it seems, I mean, although it's been this sort of era of, I mean, pain and hurt for so many people around the globe, I mean, we can find the beauty in it as musicians because we now have time to sort of reflect and reinvent ourselves and sort of like look at our music and sort of hone our craft. That's what I've been doing. That's what I know I've been doing.
What have you taken away from this period then, Christopher? You?
I mean, it's just given me time to sort of reflect on what music's done for me, and how it's grown me as a person, and how um, all these different artists and musicians that are here now and from the past, and that I know will pop up in the future, how they're really affecting me and how much music really means to me. Because I can go anywhere in the world, and the first thing, I mean, I can go to Japan, I can go to Korea, I can go to Jamaica, and if I play, there'll be one song that I play and everybody will be singing it with me. And I mean, it's really a universal language. And when I think about that, and it just really hits me, it's like, okay, I don't have to speak Mandarin. I don't have to speak any other language. If I can read music, if I can go around and I can play, then I can communicate with people through it. And that's probably been the most amazing part. That's what I've realized. And I know that it's I mean, I'm 15 years old, so not late to realize it, but it just really hit me. Like I never really felt that.
Not definitely not late.
I mean, you brought up going back to the fundamentals, and that just brought up the question in my mind: like, what is the best piece of advice that you would give a young musician that's just starting out, that's ready to take on the world? What's the first thing that you would tell them to tackle or to remember as they're getting ready to go through the stages of success, the big success that you've gone through?
Ooh, I like how you phrase that because it makes a big assumption of success. I like that. Um, hmm, Such a good question. I'm not going to talk about working technically and all of that because that's such a baseline. If you want to go out into the world as a professional musician, you have to master your craft technically and musically. And so that's sort of ground zero. But I think I would encourage any musician to really, with a lot of discipline and a lot of diligence, consistently nourish the joy of music making. There's a lot of stress in the music industry, and it can easily become about a lot of other things apart from the music. But if you always come back and have music be, your North Star, and really work hard at constantly refining what you want to say with your music and why you want to say it, the more clear that is, and the more focused that is, all the noise and all of the demands and all of the pulls that might come your way, they'll just be mild interference, but they're not going to derail you. When that clarity about what you have to offer the world, um, And then the other thing I do is I try really hard to fiercely protect like my joy of making music, because not everybody always shares that. You know, there are egos and there's demands and there's competition and all of these things, and it can easily become about other things. And if I just keep my joy in it, that keeps my heart in the right place, keeps my feet on the ground, and it makes it much easier to just go like a train through the interference.
I mean, wow, you just spoke. I mean, you protect your joy of making music, and I can see that you focus less on, you know, what the world defines as success, and you know, by that definition, you definitely outstanding, outstanding. But then you focus more on how music makes you feel, and you. I mean, in the words of Rumi, it's like you can't find among the branches what appears only in the roots, what appears like it deep down in the soil, and you go deep down into, I mean, the creative music project. I mean, this is amazing. It's wow.
Isn't that where you want to be too? Isn't
Yeah,
that why we're here?
yeah. We're just
Yeah, who
focusing on
has
the
time for
roots.
superficiality?
Hmm.
Who has time to stay on the surface? That's not what this music is about. You know,
That's
there are
exactly.
other professions that don't require you to go deeply, but any musician that I know, you know, the ones who are in it for stardom, it's going to be very short lived, and it's not going to be an enjoyable life. But you know, musicians, I look at musicians and artists as servants, not stars and not whatever. They're servants, you know, and we're here to remind humanity about our humanity, our common humanity. We're here to remind people what beauty feels like, sounds like, feels like, looks like. We're here to kind of keep the compass pointed towards truth, like human truth, universal truth. And I'm much happier, and ultimately I'm more successful, if you want to say that, when my focus is on serving the music, serving the listeners, serving society if I can, and serving my love of music, serving those things and not taking from them or demanding things of it.
Yes. I mean, yes, to everything that you just said. It's, I mean, we just said, you know, success is not really the number of albums that you sold or the number of copies of your music that you sold or how many people listen to it. It's how it makes them feel and how it makes you feel. I mean, so I mean, keeping that in mind, what can you let us in on your creative process to, I mean, you're obviously amazing at what you do. So can you just let us in on how you kind of sort of get this done, how you were able to create such music that appeals to the masses and also makes us feel things, unlike any musician I've listened to in a long while, I must say.
You're you're so kind. You know, there's a lot of panic and there's a lot of I can't do this. There's a lot of oh my god, this sounds like you know, it's I'm a pretty tough critic of myself, but I've learned to also let that be part of the process, because you know, artists were restless and we're never really satisfied with how things can go. But I've learned how to not let that derail me. You know, that keeps me okay. The more information I have about what I need to work on and what's not working yet, then the better I can work in a direction that will take it where I want to go. Um, I I think, again, considering that the baseline of really proficient technique is there, I consider, I think my greatest asset, or the greatest asset any artist can have, is curiosity, imagination, asking questions, going way out, way outside the black and white boundaries of the lines of a staff and some dots. You know, what kind of color can this make? You listen to Ella Fitzgerald, you listen to Quincy Jones, you listen to Michael Jackson, you listen to Martha Argerich, you know, the color, the kaleidoscopic color that is created through their sound, that's not coming from the notations on a page. That's coming from their heart, their soul, and their imagination. So I ask a lot of questions. What's the subtext here? What's the inner story? What's the emotional content? What's the price? What's the why? What is the reason this music? Why do I have to sing this? For example, in my case, as a singer, why couldn't I just say this? What is so imperative and so important and so deeply engaged that it has to be sung and not spoken? Or in your case, it has to be expressed this way, you know? What is so imperative or so simple and so profound that the words would diminish it? So we have to take it off the earth by letting it vibrate in a pure, innocent, otherworldly kind of way. But what is it that's trying to be expressed? So this is the question that keeps me up at night and and puts me on stage. I want to answer that question.
Wow. I mean, you brought up some amazing musicians, and that you brought up Ella Fitzgerald, Quincy Jones, the king of pop. And my first thought was you, because I'm thinking of vibrance and warmth and love, and then soul and imagination, and then curiosity, and then also you just have so many different emotions and thoughts in your music. I know solitude is one. It's just like, I mean, it's feeling like I really felt it, like your voice, and I mean it just really conveys so many different tones, and that's the same way that I feel about violin. It's that you said it so amazingly. It's that words would just diminish. I mean, how
Yeah.
amazing it is, and some people have a way with words. So many leaders in the past, and I mean, you have a way with words right right now. But I mean, it's like
Christopher,
words would diminish what.
Christopher, this is Sabrina. I'm jumping in. I feel like we might have to hire you for a full-time talk show going forward. You are, I think this might be either your secondary career or your first. We'll see. We are like loving this masterclass in life, pretty much. It's incredible. I just want to give Angelo a chance to ask some of his questions as well. I'm loving this.
Angelo, I see you there, and I'm like, I'm with you too. You're here, you're part of the conversation. No,
yeah, this is incredible. So if you don't mind, Christopher, we'll just turn it over to Angelo for a moment.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay, here, we'll do a 3, 2, 1 countdown, Angelo. Thank you.
Good job, Chris.
Angelo, you're on mute.
Right. Hi, Joyce.
Hi, Angelo.
It's really awesome to be here with you. Oh my God, that was amazing. Everything you said, it was just beautiful, especially the part about being a servant artist, because that's exactly what I call myself and what I see myself as. My early days of music, it was, I saw myself as this performer, and it's just all about me playing the violin, and it slowly grew into a gift and giving a great gift to my audience and being a servant artist and all of that. So hearing that from you is just awesome.
Okay, hearing that from you is just awesome. And when that switch is made in your head and your heart, it's a big moment, because you start to realize how much more powerful your music making will be, because it has a different kind of purpose. It's not a purpose that is inward based, but it's a purpose that goes outward. But I think, sorry, you haven't asked a question, but I want to expand on what you're talking about here. You have to, I think performers have to go through that phase of making it all about them a little bit, because we have to learn to grow tall and to own our space on the stage, to have the confidence to dare to make sound in front of other people. And we have to figure out, it's a huge hugely courageous thing that musicians do, especially when we're young. You know, it takes so much nerve and courage to go out in front of other people. So I think we have to walk through that path, but at some point we've got to transition into that mentality that it's not just about us, it's about others.
Yeah, that's amazing. So I heard you talking about your childhood and being in this space saturated with so many different genres. Um, so did you ever feel like you had to make one choice? Was it difficult to choose one genre? Like, what was that journey like?
No, I never. This is the great thing. I've felt directives about other things in my life, but never about music. And funnily enough, when I was young, opera, it didn't pull me in at all. I didn't understand the sound that was created with opera singers. I heard noise that was like, whoa, 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 whoa. Yeah, I didn't understand it. But I liked classical music, but I loved choral music. So I went to university to really become a singer in a choir. And I would say it was my junior year that I started studying and understanding how the voice works. And it was the internal process of that that turned me on to opera. Because here I was singing poetry that was about these huge emotions, and I was connecting to other centuries historically. It just felt amazing. I had to work so hard physically on my instrument to kind of figure that out. And then there was a psychological approach to trying to understand the emotion and understand how to deliver that to people. So it just felt like opera was so complex and demanded so much of me, that it was a challenge I was daunted by, but I also wanted to conquer. But it's also why, because Christopher, you mentioned solitude earlier. It's also why I've never felt pinned into only singing one kind of music. I've never felt like, because I call myself an opera singer, that other types of music are off limits. Because I just don't think that doesn't interest me.
Yeah, that's amazing. I feel that music is this otherworldly thing. There's really no way to put words to it. I want to expand on what you said a little bit because I find that the more beautifully I strive to live, the more beautiful my music becomes. I don't know how to explain it or put it into words. It's really weird, but I can feel it when I'm playing. And even with my compositions, it's just, it just elevates to this new level and this new feeling, this new energy. So I think that's awesome.
So do you think it's the music that is driving that in your life, or you're finding that in your life and it's coming into the music, or it's beautifully
I
entwined?
think I think it's both. It's kind of like you said, the inner singer or the inner you that brings this artistry out and this musical feeling that you give to the audience. Yeah, yeah, I think it's really both. When I'm
Yeah.
listening to music, I'm inspired by so many artists, so many genres, but with my own music that I make, it's really about how I live also that influences it. Like you can, like if you listen to my music, I believe that you can feel what I was feeling in the moment when I was making it. And I think that's really awesome.
Angelo, you've just literally made like the whole poster campaign for why young people need music. And it's not to breed more musicians, right? It's not because we need more musicians in the world, although of course the more the merrier as far as I'm concerned. But exactly what you're describing is what breaks my heart about our education system today, is that not every kid has the chance to find those things in themselves through music, and that they don't have to do anything with it professionally or down the road. It's just strictly in that period they start to learn that there's something that can unlock things inside of us, that helps us access corners of ourselves, that, no offense to mathematicians, but that algebra doesn't always unlock, or studying for the test doesn't always unlock. I'm so happy that you have music in your life and that it has opened these things for you, because the ripple effects, the ramifications of it penetrate every part of your life, right? Yeah.
Yes, music has changed my life, and I just can't wait to see what it does in the future.
Me either.
So my next question would be, in a world like where the demand is the music of the greats, the classics, and you're singing and acting, how do you find yourself not losing your personality in the music? Like how do you intertwine a bit of Joyce and a bit of Beethoven or Mozart or some opera that you're making?
Good question. And I don't think that's never really my goal, is to show myself. Because that will inherently come because it's my voice. And it's me on that day dealing with whatever I've been dealing with. It's me in that acoustic in front of that audience, it's every time I perform, it's such a unique thing that will never be replicated. It's why I really miss live performance. I really miss it. My job is to try and convey as best I understand what the piece is, what the composer's intentions are, within the musical context and style and the historical style. And the more I can get out of the way, the better. Usually I have a character to play. And even if I'm not in an opera, if I'm just singing a song, I want to have a real clear idea of what the narrator's point of view is. And as I was telling Christopher earlier, these questions that I try to always ask of the score, the deeper I go with that and the more clear the subtext is, then I'm just a storyteller. And the clearer I am and the freer my technique is, my delivery mechanism is, then I think the more effective the storytelling is going to be. And it will always be me doing it. So, it will never sound like Maria Callas or Pavarotti or Angelo. It will only ever sound like Joyce. But in that moment, I want the audience to experience the fullness of the story that I'm telling.
Wow, that's beautiful. I wanted to ask, how do you see your future in music, and is leaving behind a legacy something you can look back on, or even if you see your legacy as this great gift to the world, is that something you think about? Is that something that keeps you up at night?
No, no, like I take my work really seriously. I just can't ever really take myself that seriously. I mean, I have along the way, but overall, I don't. You know, legacies are very much for other people to assign, and it freaks me out to hear you say that word a little bit. I'm like, oh, I have to do something important now. You've made me think. But it's really the thing I always just try to do is have a lot of integrity, for every time I open my mouth and sing, or every time I'm trying to put a program together, because I really I come back to this idea of being a servant, right? And I look at music as being equally totally um, peasant and meaning for every man, for every person, for every being. It should be accessible to everybody. So it's this kind of peasant world. And on the other hand, it is so celestial, and it is so from another realm when it's good, you know, when we're talking about the masterpieces. And when a performance leaves the earth and floats above us and we feel ourselves go, and we have that reaction, right? It's not, we don't do it every time, but that's kind of the goal. And I've always, every time I step on stage or do a recording, I think about the person who saved up the money to come and hear it. I don't necessarily, I mean, just between us, I don't necessarily think about the big patron who has season tickets and comes every Tuesday. And so they're kind of, you know, I think about them too, of course. But there's always a little chip in my brain that's like, there's somebody who's here for the first time. There's somebody who's made a real effort to be here. And this is a special occasion for them. And it's my responsibility to sing this Mozart aria for their first time as they discover it. And I want to do it with everything I have. So it's always kind of a holy encounter for me. It's something sacred about what I do. And I'm assuming that if I just stay true to that kind of work ethic, I'm from the Midwest, so it's like, you know, work. If I stay sort of true to that work ethic, whatever legacy is there at the end, I don't know what it will look like. If it belongs in a museum or a discount bin at your, you know, on Spotify, whatever. I was going to say your record store, but those don't exist anymore. That's of no concern to me. My concern is that whoever encounters my music gets everything that I am in that moment, because that's what they deserve, I think.
That's wonderful. Thinking back, the only moment that I had that ethereal, bigger than life musical moment was a couple years ago. I was sitting in the National Take a Stand Festival Orchestra. We were playing Elgar's Nimrod. And yeah, so I think what happened was all the students knew how hard each of us was working on this piece, and to give that gift to the audience. And in that moment of performance, I don't know, it was just something happened. It was just so beautiful. And like, you just felt everybody's energy, and we just made the most beautiful sound. Like, I still have the video and I listen to it all the time.
You still have the memory, and you still have this sensation. I see it.
I can feel it.
And that stays alive. Yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing. It's wonderful.
I know I'm corny, but literally music is the answer to everything. We can save the world with music. I'm sure of it. I know it's naive, but I'm so glad you've had that experience. Yeah.
I'm going to jump back in here because I don't know how more perfect this conversation could be. I mean, Joyce, I'm sitting here crying in my home office. I mean, your answers have touched me in such a beautiful way. And I think every audience that gets the pleasure and the good fortune to hear this conversation will feel that. And we have to thank both Christopher and Angelo for these incredibly thoughtful and well-poised questions. I mean, you've asked things that I think anyone would die to hear. This is just, okay, I'll stop gushing. It's just been a real privilege. And I think, I know Anne and Michael are still on the call. I wonder, just a point of just logistics, if we could have each of the gentlemen just introduce yourselves one more time with a little bit of pause before and after, just to say, hi, I'm so-and-so, and I play this, and I study here. You know, just your little snippet would be wonderful.
Right, sort of just like this is when you're meeting Joyce for the first time online. Hey Joyce, this is Christopher. I play the da 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 da. Joyce can say, hey Christopher, and then that's all we need from each of you, and then we can always work that in if we need to. Thank you. I think you're on mute.
Okay. 3, 2, 1. Hi, my name is Christopher Mitchell. I play the violin, and I'm so excited to be here in your presence. Oh my gosh, such an inspiration.
Hi, Christopher. Please, next time, can we do it in person? Please.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Cool. Cool.
All right, so that was great. Joyce, I think on our end, the audio broke up because of the Wi-Fi. Could you just give your response to Christopher again? I know it'll be a little bit fabricated. If you want to do the whole thing again, that's great too, but like it broke up a little bit, so I just love to have it as a clean.
There. Thank you, Christopher. I'm so happy to meet you, but please, next time, I want to meet in person. I'm getting really tired of Zoom. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you, that was awesome. All right, Angelo, you're up.
I have COVID hair. It's terrible. It's awful. I need a hat, Christopher, like you have.
Hi, Joyce. My name is Angelo. I'm a music producer and violinist, and thank you so much for your time.
Angelo, first of all, I love your setup and your setting, and thanks for being here. I'm so happy to talk with you. Thanks. And in all sincerity, you guys, really, this is like one of the things I've taken away from COVID is I don't want to waste my time on things I don't want to do and things that are superficial. And so thank you for like bringing the real questions and the real topics to talk about today. I really appreciate that. And that's a huge testament to you guys as young men, as artists, and to the Harmony program that is just like, it's just life affirming and life giving to so many students. Yeah, thanks for being here. Don't look at my COVID hair.
No problem.
Oy,
It's beautiful.
oy.
I
That was
think
wonderful, thank you.
yes, I think this is like off the books, if you will. Like I had a question about how you think music affects like the world right now, because I know in America, where I am right now, there's social unrest. Like there's stuff happening all over this country. That's a byproduct of what's been happening here since the very beginning. And I mean, there's so many different perspectives and viewpoints. And I just want to know how you believe music factors into that, how you think music can solve that or help with what's happening right now.
Well, I mean, look at what's happened historically, right? Music has always led the revolutions. Music has always sort of sounded the battle cry. And music can be the one thing that reduces people without thinking to tears. You know, if somebody gets up and sings Amazing Grace, you know, that's going to bring tears to people from both sides of the aisle if it's sung well.
Yes.
You know, and in music can be that safe place where you can find common ground, or where it can calm a situation, or conversely where it can rile people up. So it can work in both directions. You know, it can also be, like I said, like a battle cry.
Mhm.
I think, you want to know my honest opinion, I think, again, just going on what has happened historically after huge global crises, it's almost always followed by a renaissance.
Mhm.
And do you know what I think 15, 20 years from now, or longer, I don't know how long it's going to take, but when historians look back on this time, they're going to point to Amanda Gorman's poem at the inauguration and say, that was the spark of the Renaissance. That's what I think.
Yes. She was
Because
amazing.
amazing. And she had people in the mainstream saying, I didn't know words could do that. And you're like, that's because we no longer have arts education in schools, people. Hello. Of course, words can do that. They always have. And we were so bankrupt for 4 years from coherent words. But I think that's what it is. So I think this moment, and you guys in particular, the up and coming ones, and oh my gosh, Angela, the producers, you know, the people who are making it happen, literally, we're going to be on the front lines of this, and this is the moment to create radically and without apology and with love and with freedom and with all of those things that you guys feel when you make music, to get that emotion and that, to wake up that memory in people, to
Yes.
wake that memory up in people so that they go, something about this doesn't feel right. I don't think I can, you know, I don't like the way this feels. I want to do something different. And the music is that reminder. The music is that wake up call. The music is permission to feel something kind, something gentle, something loving, something sad, music and art is the permission to unlock something that needs to be expressed. So for me, it's kind of the only solution forward, because it's not political. I mean, it can be, but at its base, it's not. And it's common language, common humanity. And that's what we need.